For more information, join SS Group Tuition today.
A data set can be described using the measures of central tendency. The three measures of central tendency are mean, mode, and median. Mean is the most frequently used measure of central tendency. However, if the data has extreme values, it does not give correct representative value of the data. So, depending on the situation, we resort to the other two measures of central tendency. In situations that require establishing the most frequent value or most popular item, the mode is the best choice. For example, to find the most popular TV program being watched, or to find out the color of the car most in demand, or to find out the number of days taken to heal from a particular epidemic disease, or to find the average height of people, or in other words, the height most people have, and so on. Recall that the mode of a set of numbers is the value that occurs with the highest frequency. On bar chart, mode represents the highest bar, and in the pie chart, mode refers to the variable with the largest sector. To find the mode of raw or ungrouped data, we first arrange the data in the form of frequency distribution, and then identify the observation with the maximum frequency. In this data, the mode of the data is 6. An important thing to note about mode is that in a data, sometimes a mode may not exist, and even if it does exist, it may not be unique. For example, the mode of the first data is 9, and the second data, there are two modes, namely 4 and 7, but the last data has no mode. So finding the mode of ungrouped data is easy. But what about grouped data? How can we find the mode of grouped data? Recall that in the grouped data, observations are organized into groups called classes. When the data is large, then instead of listing all observation, we group the observations. For example, if we have the data of marks obtained in a test for 50 students, then we organize the marks into groups as 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, and so on. These groups are called classes. Similarly, if a store manager has to maintain the data of items sold and their prices, he or she can group the price and make the price range and then list the items under each category. Can you find the mode of these data sets? In the first data, the maximum frequency is 10, which corresponds to class intervals 70 to 80. Now, let's observe the second data that shows the frequency distribution of price range of items sold. Look through the frequencies. The highest value is 15, corresponding to class 60 to 80. Now, in both the cases, the mode refers to the entire class, that is the range of values and not the single value. So what is the value of the mode? Is the mode the highest, lowest, or the midpoint of the class? Let's find out. In case of grouped data, we can merely identify the class with highest frequency called the modal class. This modal class is used to find the mode. In order to determine the mode from the modal class, we use the formula shown. In this formula, L represents the lower limit of the modal class. H is the size of the class interval. We assume that all class sizes are equal. F1 represents the frequency of the modal class. F0 represents the frequency of the class preceding the modal class, and F2 represents the frequency of the class succeeding the modal class. We can simplify or rewrite this formula like this. If the difference between the frequencies of the modal class and the class preceding it is D1, and the difference between the frequencies of the modal class and the class succeeding it is D2, then the formula looks like this. The purpose of this formula is to identify one value within the modal class that seems to be the peak of the smoothed out histogram drawn for the data. Let's go back to our data sets and find their modes. In the frequency distribution of marks scored by 50 students, the modal class is 70 to 80 with frequency 10. So L the lower limit of the model class is 70. H, the class size, is 10. The frequency f not of the class preceding the model class is 5 and the frequency f2 of the class succeeding the model class is 7. The frequency of model class is f1. Now, mode is given by the formula shown here. L is 70 and H is 10. D1, the difference between the frequencies of the model class and the class preceding it, is 5. And D2, the difference between the frequencies of the model class and the class succeeding it, is 3. Putting these values in the formula, we get the mode, which is 76.25. Modal value 76.25 signifies that most number of students scored 76.25 marks.